that span of games.
Yeah.
Because the Celtics were one of the best teams in the league. They were, 1 or 2 through the first 30 games of the season.
Right, and then they went 25-25 in the last 50.
Yeah.
3-7 in the final 10.
Yeah, so maybe the right way to think about this isn't that they flipped a switch, but that they got healthy at exactly the right time, and maybe some of this, when you have guys with the stature and the sort of veteran clout that I'm not going to call them big three, but the three sort of oldest guys, and then maybe in that respect, Rasheed helps also. When you have a team of veterans, everybody knows what it means when playoff time comes around, and they just get it. They're able to get it together.
I've given up trying to figure anything out because not only Rasheed, but Derek Fisher too, who also looked completely and totally washed up during the regular season and became a real asset in the playoffs. And I don't know, maybe I almost blame the Spurs a little bit because the 2007 Spurs were the first team that mailed in a chunk of the season, but they also tried to peak as we got close to the playoffs. The Celtics team, it seemed like their goal was just to not have anybody be too hurt before the playoffs started. But I still don't buy the whole, the party line from them now about how, we always knew we'd turn it on and stuff like that. When there are no signs that you're going to turn it on, I don't know how you're going to turn it on.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. I didn't realize they were saying that was kind of the game plan.
Well, I think it became the game plan because they were being so bad. It was like, we're just trying to get ready for. It's like, all right, well, that's what you're telling us, but
when I didn't watch any of the games deliberately, but when you think back to the Celtics Miami games, did you see something then that made you think that we might be sitting here, 6 weeks later?
Only Quentin Richardson, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was at the end of game 1?
Was it that early in the series?
Or game 2 or whatever. I remember in game 1 they were down 14 and the crowd was booing. And then something kicked in. They started playing defense. Yeah, it was game 1 because that at the end of that game was when that little thing with Pierce happened. But,
right.
And then they played really well the next game, and it was like, thanks, Quentin Richardson. Appreciate you waking up the team for, briefly.
Yeah.
And then it just kept going, and the only real stinker they played was game 3 of the Cleveland series.
Uh-huh.
That was it. Even the Orlando series.
Well, no, that game 4 of the Orlando series was a stinker.
You mean game
4? The game where they could have closed out.
Yeah, that was their last stinker. Yeah.
That was a stinker of a stinker.
Yeah, and that was one of those, we've dominated this team, they're not going to show up, we don't need to show up either.
Right.
It was defensible.
It was defensible, and they almost won.
Yeah.
So it wasn't totally cockamamie.
You just reminded me, you and I have been among Vince Carter's most vocal critics. And it's a long list. Did he exceed your wildest expectations in that series?
I wouldn't say he exceeded them. I think he met them. He is who I think he is who we thought he was.
It was great.
He's the best. He's absolutely the best.
It was great. It has so many great moments. Too many to even break down. You could have done like a top 20 countdown show.
I loved your line that him limping off the court there with the feigned, hamstring pull or calf pull was it wasn't quite as good as an Auerbach victory cigar, but it was pretty close. My leg.
And then it rebounded well enough for him to shake hands and hug everybody in the Celtics after. It'd have like a 10-minute handshake with Nate Robinson. If that guy played on my team, I mean, you all saw what happened that I had to root for Rasheed Wallace. That led to a 3,600 word column.
Yes.
Vince would have led to I think I would have written a whole book about Vince. One column would have been enough. It would have been a 200-page Mitch Albom style short book, just a character assassination.
Well, I was going to say, what would the conclusion be?
It would be called Tuesdays with Joe B. Do you have to believe that? Joe B., get that bleep button ready. But holy mackerel.
Mackerel.
The telling play was there was that one baseline play, I think, in game 3 when they were getting blown out. And he could have move was to just go flying in and get fouled.
Yes.
And instead he tried to do this weird under the basket, turn his body, fling over his head move so Garnett wouldn't hit him.
To avoid the contact.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's him. And that's why I was getting mad at Atlanta, the previous series, because they were letting Vince just go to the basket with impunity. It's like, these teams have scouts? Knock them down.
Yeah, I don't. Atlanta had a different agenda. I don't think that winning that series was their priority.
Atlanta was also quitting. It was tough to.
That's exactly right. It was a battle of quitters.
Yeah, did you see Game 3? Did you watch that whole game? It was
I did.
Saturday?
The whole game. I did.
Jeff Van Gundy, I thought, was as much of a crush I've ever heard a play-by-play or color guy give to somebody as the game was going on. He destroyed Vince.
He had to.
Yeah.
He had to.
I was so happy that he did, though.
It's, I love Jeff Van Gundy, and I love that booth. We spent a good part of our, late 20s, early 30s, viciously ripping broadcast teams.
Yeah.
But ABC and ESPN really put together a good one, and those guys are great to listen to.
How about Dwight Howard? Do you feel better or worse about him than you did before that series?
Worse, way worse.
Really?
He didn't control any outcomes. The two games that Orlando won were a function of Jameer Nelson stepping up and, controlling the direction of that game. Vince was a mere bystander. Dwight
Howard
was a bystander. He was the beneficiary of another player on his team taking control of those games. It's tough for me to he might just be top 3 regular season kind of guy, but we now have two years worth of evidence that you can't really put your team's fate in his hands. He's not going to take your team to the promised land. He's a hell of a asset to have, but you can't put it on his shoulders.
I didn't do a round 3 awards, and maybe I should have, but it was Memorial Day weekend. I think my wife would have divorced me. But if I had done an award, I would have done some sort of award for him about how he interviewed himself as Clark Kent Superman before the playoffs.
Unfortunately, I saw that.
And then forgot to come out of the phone booth until Game 4. But it's just, I think that's where his head's at. I think playing basketball successfully and winning titles is just part of many things he wants to do. And in some cases, he has the same problem that LeBron James has.
Which is he can't do it by himself, and he doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah, and nor does it eat away at him to the point that he says to himself, I can't live with myself until I do better and I can make my team better.
Well, that's right.
And screw all this other stuff, and I'm going to stop smiling anymore because honestly, I don't have that much to be happy about because I'm tired of losing.
Well, who was it? Was it Chuck? Was it Barkley who said, Vince Howard needs to, God, I keep doing it. Dwight Howard needs to stop smiling?
Yeah.
He needs to come out next year and be mean to everybody?
And I don't think he will ever be mean to everybody. And really, Shaq, when you look at Shaq's career, and the parallels between them are, he's not nearly the offensive player Shaq was, but I do think they had that same fun-loving type of, I'm just lucky to do this for a living, and it's one of a lot of things I want to do. Shaq only was pissed off for one solid season, the 99-2000 season that they won the title and he won the MVP. I don't know if, watching, I think it was Game 5 in Orlando, Howard had that play where he missed the layup and he sprinted back the other end and he blocked Rondo's shot in a fast break. It was an awesome play.
Yeah.
And Van Gundy was like, wow, Dwight Howard really hustled on that play. That's the way he should always play.
Yeah,
I hate to be the guy who's like, Dwight, you should play this way. But look, if you want to be great, that the announcer shouldn't notice when you make a play like that.
And that's precisely the area where his sort of physical superiority, his physical dominance should be, showing itself.
Yeah.
Is that that athleticism that God gave him? That's exactly the way he ought to be deploying that. But
well, unfortunately, he might be more of an athlete than a basketball player.
Well, the interesting thing will be with that Orlando team, where do they go from here? Who can they bring in? Who knows how to win? That they can bring in and put on that team. They need somebody that knows how to win.
Who doesn't make this trade? Vince Carter, expiring contract. Jameer Nelson, very favorable contract for the results you're getting.
Yeah.
To the Washington Wizards for Gilbert Arenas.
Wow. mean,
and actually, the Wizards would have to throw in another guy.
I have to think about. I mean, 82 games of Vince in my life.
It would be great.
I love Jameer Nelson. Now, would Jameer help John Wall? Do we think they would? Could they play together?
I think you spin Jameer Nelson off to another team.
Okay.
Forget about your team, because your team would trade Gilbert Arenas for anything.
Yeah, that's true. That's right.
I don't think you're worried about who you get back. If you're Orlando, would you take a chance on Gilbert Arenas?
I don't know. I don't know how that helps them. I think honestly, Jameer Nelson's way more important to them than anything Gilbert could bring to the table.
But I think Van Gundy you might need a tall point guard for that team. Van Gundy made a good point about Dwight Howard's open a lot, and Jameer's too short to get him the ball and throw him the entry pass. And the irony of their whole season was the best guy to throw Dwight Howard a pass was Vince Carter.
Well, actually, I was surprised by this. You just quick tangent on that. Why wasn't Rashard Lewis making more entry passes?
Because I think he was in a coma.
Because he had the ball a few times. He's the one on the wing that can make that pass from the wing.
Yeah, they don't have. In my opinion, I think they need to surround him with tall guys who could shoot, much like they had last year.
Yeah.
And guys who can shoot threes and pass to him.
Yeah, are we in agreement that last year's team was better than this year's team?
No question.
I mean, it speaks for itself. Last year's team made the finals.
And the thing that everybody forgot was how much of an effect Haydu had on Rashard Lewis.
Right, exactly.
His stats went in the tank. He was getting open shots, the whole thing. And,
yep.
I think Redick was better this year. And if they had just, maybe there was no way to do it, but, if they had just been able to keep the team they had. The Vince trade, I guess, was defensible. My whole problem is once they got to the point where he was replacing Haydu.
Yeah.
That's it. That's not good. I really thought J.J. Redick was impressive, though.
Oh, me too. Look, he really acquitted himself. He played great defense on Ray Allen.
That's a guy who should be stay on contending teams, and I think could have a meaningful NBA career. And I'm not just saying that because he came on my podcast.
Well, how about this? He might be the only player on that team that really knows how to win.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on. He went to college for 4 years and won most of his games. I mean, Jameer made it, pretty far in the NCAA tournament, but
if I were the Bulls, because I'm starting to wonder how realistic the LeBron. It's starting to feel like Miami for all of these guys.
Really?
I don't know. It's starting to. They're having this meeting together, and you look at the cap space Miami has. But anyway, I don't know how realistic it is for him to go to Chicago and play in Jordan's shadow, and what kind of upside that would be for him to stay in the Midwest but just move to a better situation. He'd almost look like a wuss, I think. But anyway, let's say they get Chris Bosh. Just add Chris Bosh to that team. And now with the rest of the money you have, you give J.J. Redick 5 years for $33 million or something. And those are your two additions to Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, Lowell Deng, Heinrich. That's a pretty interesting team. Depends
on who the coach is, but it's a coach that would come in and have something to work with. That's for sure.
I think Redick.
Couldn't that be a team that Jeff Van Gundy would coach?
Yeah, possibly.
That would be an interesting team. I want to do a quick thing. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that everybody's concentrating on these top 5 guys, and there's a whole second level of free agents that not only are going to be really good and have potentially a big impact on teams, but are people that, just because of the way the market works out, either are going to be overpaid or underpaid, and they can't decide. Like David Lee's another one.
Yeah.
He's going to have to wait until all the dust settles. But one of these guys is going to be available for a major bargain, and there's going to be others that won't. But Redick and David Lee to me are two guys that, who knows, on the right team they could really be assets.
They could make a big difference.
What were you going to say?
My favorite thing of the last week with this meeting is the guys that are now inviting themselves to it.
I know.
And the second part that I love, who invited Joe Johnson? Whose idea was this? Joe Johnson belonged at a meeting like that.
It was somebody who didn't see the playoffs.
I mean, Joe Johnson, since when does he get discussed in the same breath as D-Wade or LeBron?
It reminded me of like when we try to plan things with people from college, and our friend Nick Aida always ends up putting 2 extra people on the email list that we don't want on there. How did those people get on there, Nick? This is very similar. Like, people are like, wait a second, who told Joe Johnson about this?
Well, I mean, look, to me, Amari deserves to be there ahead of Joe Johnson. But Amari had to invite himself.
I see. I think the funniest thing ever would be if J.J. Redick announced that he also wanted to be at the summit.
Why should anybody be foreclosed? They all should be talking to one another. David Lee should be talking.
The LeBron, I went from right afterwards, I thought, you know what, after all this shakes out, all this stuff, he's going to stay. But
I still think there's a good chance of that happening.
I thought it was a better than good chance. But I look at the way these last 2 weeks have played out. They lost 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We haven't heard a peep from him. If this guy intended to stay in Cleveland, and I hate doing the whole sports radio thing, like you're just throwing out these absolute certainty comments and you have no idea if they're going to play out or not. Like the people who said Game 6 of the Celtics-Orlando series was really Game 7 for Boston. If they don't win Game 6, there is no way they can win in Orlando. We've won there twice already. I'm pretty sure we could win in Game 7 there. But I just think if he was going to stay in Cleveland, I feel like he would have thrown them a bone by now. Like, at least come out and say, you know what? I'm going to look at every option I have. I've been waiting to be a free agent for 7 years. My first choice is to stay here. It's my home. It's my team. I love the fans. They've been great to me.
Well, look,
I want to stay, but I'm still going to investigate all my options. That gives him an out if he leaves.
It's a top headline on ESPN.com right now. Not that I'm in the business of pimping ESPN.com, but LeBron goes on Larry King, and the headline lead here is that the Cavs have an edge.
He said that?
I'm looking at it right now. He said it today.
All right, that's good. I didn't know that.
Yeah. They say the interview was taped Tuesday, which is today, and will air Friday.
That's good. But it shouldn't have taken 3 weeks for him to say that.
Well, maybe he said it to the people that mattered. Maybe he said it to the GM when he told the GM, please do fire Mike Brown.
When he told the GM.
Not Danny Ferry. No, he didn't tell Danny Ferry. He told the owner. What's the owner's name? That's what I meant to say.
Dan Gilbert. Yeah, I was going to say he told Danny Ferry, please fire yourself. The LeBron thing, though, I just think the Cleveland fans are so emotionally fragile. To string them along like that with dead silence for 3 weeks was almost cruel. And if you want to leave, then just come out and say that. If you think you're going, come out and say it. But to just keep them in silence. Like, did you read that article about him going to the high school dunk contest? And
no,
the fans?
I didn't see it.
Oh, it was so sad. Like, it's really tragic. Yeah, I know, like, there's real life tragic things going on right now as we read about the oil spill every day. And you never compare sports to that. But when you're talking about the effect that just random guy who all he does is play sports for a living, the random effect that this guy is having on an entire region of people, it's almost unparalleled.
So what's the story? Give me the 30-second version.
He goes to this dunk contest. Nobody's seen him for 2 weeks. He's not talking to anybody, and the fans are screaming at him, don't leave, come, stay, come back. It's
okay. I don't know. Why I think he genuinely doesn't have his mind made up about any of it, and it's kind of unfair to be saying anything at this point because, everybody will react to it immediately and start trying to, process it and get behind it. I don't know. I think the only thing to say is I'm weighing all my options.
You just described the same logic of Tiger's PR team after the accident.
Well, and, so what? Is Tiger any worse off now because of, the crazy strategy they undertook?
Yes, he's a public pariah and he's about to lose $200 million to his wife.
Well, I think both of those were kind of locks as soon as it came out about him in the church parking lot.
Mrs. Tiger, this whole concept of that she's entitled to $200 million for 6 years of marriage, Obama needs to, I know he's busy with the oil spill and all this other stuff and saving the world and trying to figure out our economy and all the health care and everything, but he needs to revise the divorce rules.
Yeah, no, you're crazy. He made that $1 billion off of Mrs. Tiger. What are you talking about?
In what world?
To a taste?
Please.
Why
In what world?
Get a taste?
In what world is Mrs. Tiger going to make $200 million? There should be some sort of like realistic earning potential of the person involved. She's a freaking
have
nanny.
To do with it. That's
She's
not
making $30,000 a year.
It was for his public image. He doesn't get the GM deal or the McDonald's deal or the Gatorade deal without Mrs. Tiger. So, she had a part in all of it. She was part of his global success.
Hey, Joe House, the wealthy men of the world who might get divorced someday, thank you for their support as you support the nannies. You support the nannies and the gold diggers. You've done your vote with Nanny Gold Digger Coalition.
That's false. I absolutely abhor the gold diggers and the Basketball Wives program.
I watched the season finale 2 nights ago.
I'm still several shows behind. I need to get caught up.
I'd like to congratulate that show for setting the record for most drinks thrown in somebody's face angrily. Because they had 3. I don't remember a 3-drink season.
Women on women violence?
Really angry. I guess that's the new way women fight, is just by whipping a drink at each other. It's pretty good, though.
It is pretty good.
They taped their season finale on Saturday.
Yeah.
And apparently the groupie, Sandra, that wreaked so much havoc earlier in the season,
yes.
There was an incident, and she had a bucket of water thrown on her and ran away and fell and hit her head and was on the ground for 45 minutes and got carried off on one of those football neck mobilizer stretchers.
I don't like that.
I'm not even kidding. They'd stopped the taping.
That's a bad story.
Yeah.
Who threw a bucket of water on her?
Michael Oluwakandi's scary, ugly former girlfriend.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who was so ugly that I thought they should have blurkled her face. And they showed her. Just the way they blurkle body parts on Survivor, I thought she should have gotten the face blurkle. I don't need to see that in HD.
That does kind of confirm, though. It gives us, karma works, right? Michael Candy should have an ugly girlfriend. What did he ever do to earn him?
I think this is the worst looking girlfriend any number 1 pick's ever had.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I like that.
I mean, I'd have to see some of Purvis Ellison's girls, but you know what? I'm not normally somebody who talks about looks and makes fun of people and all that, but if you're on a show like this and you represent yourself that badly as a human being, you deserve it. All the people on this show are absolutely the most loathsome people I've ever seen on a television show, and I love it. Thank them for it.
That's why I'm disclaiming the gold diggers. The nannies, I might support the nannies, but the gold diggers, I'm against them.
So you're supporting Jasper Parnovik's nanny who ran. Oh, she's single. Who do I set up Elin with?
Here's what I'm saying.
You know what? Set me up. Could you set me up with the guy who's won 12 Masters already and has made $200 million?
What I'm saying is his ceiling was $500 million, and she helped him make $1 billion. That's what I'm saying.
Interesting.
So she can't get a little taste of that.
So you're saying she gets a 40% cut of that extra $500 million?
Fair is fair. She did her part. She bore his children.
Do you think Mrs. Kobe now regrets settling for the $5 million diamond ring and coming back?
No, she got what she deserved. She didn't do anything to help Kobe's stature or his marketability. Kobe had achieved all that on his own. That was a fair price. $5 million ring, that's a fair buy-off.
This would be a good reality show. You're the arbiter of prices for.
What's the show called? Wife Swapper? I mean, what's
wife girlfriend?
No. What's the one on NBC where the couples? What's that called?
I've never seen that one.
No, the one with Tom Papa.
Oh, the marriage ref.
Yeah, marriage ref. I'll be the alimony ref.
Alimony ref.
I don't know what you call it.
I like that. I would watch that show. You've now committed you've committed to 4 reality shows now that you've been on. Alimony ref. That would be a good one. I think I'd watch that.
I mean, you could think that it applies in a lot of different situations. There are a lot of possibilities out there. What if Khloe Kardashian and Lamar break up? What's Khloe entitled to?
For a year of marriage?
I said, what if? When they break up, what's she entitled to?
Come on, that's not fair. They're trying to have a kid. They're trying to have a kid.
I want them to have a kid.
They want to bring another life into the world.
Lamar deserves some happiness after the sex.
I do love Lamar. Yeah,
Me too.
He's probably I think he's my favorite LA guy. And I felt bad. I tweeted. My friend Will said he saw him at some club at 3:30 in the morning, and Will's never wrong with info. And I tweeted it just like, wow, this is an email from my friend Will. blah, 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 and then it turned out not to be true. I had to post my first ever Twitter correction.
That's right. You besmirched Lamar's
I didn't really besmirch.
reputation.
Yeah, I didn't really besmirch that much. I don't
It
feel
was.
like.
It was.
And he is married to Khloe Kardashian.
It was a smirch, but not a besmirch.
Yeah, but I like Lamar. I like it. Normally I wouldn't have cared, but I actually like him personally. I think he's a good guy.
He seems very likable.
And you know what?
Agree.
So let's say they had a game on Sunday. He flies to New York on Friday, private jets it to Phoenix for that game the next day. I don't know. Is that the worst thing in the world if that had happened?
Well, as it is.
It didn't happen.
He was only showing up for the home games anyway, so
yeah, that's true.
Really make.
Yeah.
I like him because he took a little bit of a financial haircut to stay in L.A. because he loves the beach.
Yeah, and gave away his leverage and told people openly, like, yeah, I don't want to leave the beach.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah, he did. Portland, I think, supposedly Portland had made him a huge offer that he wouldn't even consider because he knew he was going to be miserable there. He loves the beach, Lamar Odom.
You got to respect that.
And he also loves Ron Artest, which brings us full circle back to this Lakers series.
He's truly the wild card, isn't he? He's literally the wild card.
But he's been great.
He's been great. Well, was he great this whole playoffs?
No, but I mean, that play he made in the Phoenix series
amazing.
Was really like if Larry Bird had made it, we would have been making documentaries about it.
Yep.
Oh, Larry Bird, the presence of mind. Watch him. He was the only guy who didn't give up on this play. All that stuff would have been said. And with Artest, he's a lunatic. And wow, can you believe that?
Yeah, right. No, it was a Derek Jeter play, right?
Yeah.
And it was also a play of will. It wasn't just that he saw it coming. He wanted the ball more. He went through Jason Richardson, who was in perfect position to not let that happen.
Now, he didn't box out, but at the same time, you and I have played basketball in our lives.
Yeah.
Air balls are really tough to gauge under the basket.
That's right. The mistake was not the classic box out mistake, playing the ball and not the man. All he had to do was keep his rear end squarely in Artest's midsection. Who cares about the ball? If Richardson can't get to it, neither can Artest, and the time runs out.
But at the same time, when there's a shot like that, and you freeze for a second because you're like, wait a second, is that going to hit the rim? Is that going to come straight down? Where's that going to bounce? And as you're thinking of these things, there's Ron Artest barreling by you.
Yeah, too late.
And he had like a radar in his head for it.
He did.
I really don't think a lot of people would have boxed him out on that play. I know it's like, it was tough. First of all, he's watching the ball. Artest is 5 feet behind him. He has no idea exactly where he is. It's not like he was on his hip and he just forgot about him.
No, I agree with that. He did come from nowhere, but I'm just saying you said it kind of the right way. There was a little bit of a temporary loss of your surroundings at Jason Richardson. And I'm willing to give Richardson a little bit of benefit of the doubt because he was singularly from the beginning of that series all the way through, the one guy on Phoenix that looked like he was playing with a FU hatred of the Lakers.
Yeah.
I mean,
that Kobe drummed out of him eventually.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, Kobe, I mean. So let's go ahead and talk about the series.
Yeah. Kobe, you think that was just a good matchup for him?
No.
Or is he playing at another level?
I think he's playing at another level.
You don't think the fact that he didn't have to worry about guarding anybody in the defensive end, and he was going against a team that didn't have shot blockers, and the kind of pace that he likes led to what we saw in that series?
Maybe all those things contributed, but he made the plays, and they were otherworldly plays.
Yeah, they were.
He dominated the game that needed to be dominated. He dominated. It was awesome.
I'm holding out hope that this was basically the same thing that happened against San Antonio 2 years ago that nobody remembers. He killed San Antonio in the Western Finals, and everybody talked about how he went to another level and all that stuff. Then the Celtics banged him around, got in his face, knocked him every time he came to the basket, all that stuff, and eventually he just stopped playing well.
So the thing to be concerned of if you're a Celtics fan is that Kobe's smart and has, learned from that experience and will be prepared for it this time around.
That would not even crack my top two of concerns. My number one is Rondo and what I'm getting from him.
Oh, okay.
Because he's the best player in the team.
Okay.
Number two is Paul Pierce, who really might just get knocked out of the series by Artest.
Yeah.
He might just be rendered irrelevant.
Yep.
And Artest is the type of guy that he really has trouble scoring against. Physical, somebody that's going to stick to him and get right in his face and make him drive to the basket. And then number 3 would be Kobe.
Okay.
And whether without the Posey type guy this year that we could stop him.
So let's talk about that for a second. Why isn't Tony Allen the Posey guy?
Because he has a sprained ankle.
Oh, what happened?
Sprained it in game 2. They kept it quiet for a couple games, but yeah, he had a bad ankle sprain.
Oh, he played pretty good, defensively.
He was in the Cleveland series was the best basketball he's ever played.
Okay.
And has not really been the same.
Yeah, it's too bad. Yeah, your first 2 concerns are the right concerns because it's been demonstrated that the Celtics can have trouble scoring the basketball, and you just described 2 very plausible, palpable reasons to have concern coming into this game.
I'm really worried about the last 4 minutes because Rondo, as awesome as he's been, has not been a guy who has looked for his own shot in the last 4 minutes because he's afraid to get fouled. I've been saying this forever. And, Ray is somebody that will take and make big shots, but it's tough to get him open sometimes if he doesn't come off the screen the right way.
Well, if they're keying on him, if he's the only option that you're really concerned about, there's a way to defend a guy who's an outside shooter like that.
Yeah, and Garnett gets the yips at the end of the game. I hate to say it, but he does.
Well, I don't. Whether that's true or not, he's not healthy.
Right, and he's not totally healthy.
I think he set an all-time record for shots off the front of the rim this playoff series.
He looks tired.
Yeah,
Good legs.
He looks tired.
So yeah, I think the Lakers could really smack down the defense. I'm worried.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that the Lakers did to Steve Nash, where they made him shoot the ball 25 times, and what was that, game 2? Early on in that series, where they just made the decision, we're just going to let Steve Nash shoot the ball every time he touches it. If they play that style of defense against the Celtics and Rondo's the one who has to shoot the ball for Boston to score,
yeah,
that's reason to be concerned.
You just reminded me of something. Alvin Gentry, who I thought did an awesome job.
Me too.
I love him.
Great job.
Top 5 or 6 coach. It gave them everything you'd ever want. I hope he learned one thing from round 3. You got to bring Steve Nash and Amari back before 3.5 minutes left in the biggest game of your season.
That's right. That was
terrible.
That was a mistake.
That was terrible. I know Dragic was hot. Fine, leave him in and bring Nash in and play them together.
Right.
You had a timeout of 5.5 minutes left. I think they were down 5, and I think they even had the ball, and they called a timeout. Wow, he'll bring Nash in. No, and waited 2 more minutes. It's common sense. You bring your best 2 guys in with 3.5 minutes left. It takes them a minute to get back into the speed of the game, and now there's 2.5 minutes left.
Well, it happened more than once in that.
He did it twice, and he got away with it the first time.
That's exactly. That's right. There you go. And he got away with it. He shouldn't have gotten away with it. He should have. Somebody should have quietly taken him aside and said, "Hey, we know that the second unit was doing what it was doing. You don't want to stop their momentum, but there's a reason Steve Nash is a 2-time MVP of this league. You got to have him in."
He played 30 minutes in Game 6.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
He was saving them.
I think they would have won that game if he had done the minutes correctly. I think they would have lost Game 7, but I love the fact that he believes in his bench like that. But at some point, you just have to be realistic and smart.
That's it.
And anyway, so you think the Lakers are going to win? It sounds like this. Finals.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the Celtics because of East Coast bias. I never root for the Lakers. I have a policy against it. But I don't. I almost don't even think it's going to be that competitive. I hate to tell you. I think the Celtics are going to bring it. I think they're going to play great defense. I think they're going to. It's going to be physical. I love what I've seen from Perk. I hope Big Baby is, fully recovered and ready to get in there and do his crazy thing. But I just don't see how the Celtics are going to score the basketball consistently enough to deal with the Lakers.
Yeah, and the 2-3-2 is a killer for them because they're going to have to win 6 or 7 in LA. Not that they can't, but it's a pretty tall order, and here's why. And it's the home court advantage started out the window. Kobe's just great at home.
Yeah.
That guy just raises it a level this has been something that's going on in the last couple of years, and that's what made the Game 4 comeback in 2008 so weird. Is that that whole team was like just deer in the headlights, that Laker team, as the Celtics were coming firing back.
Yeah.
But the last couple years, for the most part, he's just been lights out. I think it's going to be very tough to win a 6 or 7 there. Almost feel like they've got to win game 1 and then try to sweep the 3 home games.
So that would be the first game this playoffs that the Lakers would have lost at home, right? They haven't lost at home yet, have they?
It's the stat is 28-3 out of the last 31. It's pretty good.
At home?
Yeah.
So that's
for playoffs, not regular season.
Yeah, but that
playoffs.
spans. So that's this year and last year, right?
And the year before.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Pretty impressive.
Not too bad.
I do think we have some matchups in our favor, though.
Okay.
The Ray Allen thing is a huge thing for Boston.
Yeah.
They're not going to have Kobe guard him. They don't want Kobe running around chasing him for 7 games. So that means Fisher and Farmar and those guys will be guarding
Shannon
him.
Brown, maybe?
Maybe, but Shannon Brown never plays more than 10, 11 minutes.
Yeah, so it can't be Vujacic.
Could be, but Allen torched him 2 years ago. I mean, He ended his career 2 years ago. He's going to take them a little bit out of what they do.
Yeah.
And then, Garnett has always done well against the Odom-Gasol combo, just in general. The Celtics have always been able to get into Gasol's head.
Well, this will be the one where we'll see. This series is KG's last stand, right?
I mean, I hope that's not true, but yeah, you could definitely make that case.
And so we'll see kind of, between whatever treatment he's receiving and maybe a cortisone shot, we'll see what legs he shows up with in games 1 and 2.
Somebody sent me a great theory about him, that he got a cortisone shot before the playoffs, and that's why he played so well in the first round and most of the second round. Because when you get a cortisone shot, it makes you feel fantastic, and then eventually the effects wear off and you feel worse than you did before you got the shot. And he was saying that from what he saw, it was some guy who was in sports medicine. And listen, this is a theory, I'm throwing it out. That from what he saw Garnett, he looked like a guy who had gotten cortisone or some sort of painkiller to make the knee feel better, and now it's reverting back to where it was.
Well, what's to keep him from getting another one? Is there like a time restriction?
The more you do it, the worse off you are long term. But yeah, I mean, if he got a second one before the finals, that would be ideal.
Yeah, I mean, with all the time off in between games, I don't know what the physical ramifications are. You need to wait 2 days after you get one or whatever. But
yeah,
it would be good for him to show up with live legs.
You know what's interesting about the Bynum injury? The Lakers always had that minutes issue where they had the 4 frontline guys, and all 3 of them, you can only play 3 at the same time, and all of them want to play. And now Bynum can really only play 20 to 25 minutes, and it kind of shook out in the right way for them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's enough. Maybe that's exactly the right amount, and maybe that rotation that they have, that they're working off of right now, is kind of the perfect rotation for them, just by happenstance, by luck.
Because Odom and Gasol together, I think, is when they're at their best.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And with our test, I think that's their best. Their best 5 does not have Andrew Bynum in it, in my opinion.
Right.
And now, but he's not happy unless he's playing, but now he's hurt, so it all kind of worked out for them.
Yeah.
I'm worried. I'm not going to lie. In 2008, I really thought the Celtics were going to win. Mainly because we had home court and nobody could beat us at home, and but this time around, it's a lot to ask when you look at the season they had versus the playoffs, and going through Wade and then LeBron and then Dwight Howard, and all of those series were tough.
It's tantalizing. I love that. These 3 guys have not lost a playoff series since they've been together.
Yeah,
I love that, and I can't wait to see. They're going to bring that pride thing, and I don't want to get too crazy with the intangibles, but that's the thing that makes the Celtics team so compelling. And you add in Rasheed, another guy who, notwithstanding his indifference for all of the regular season plus a little bit of the playoffs, he's going to show up for the finals. He's going to show up for the finals.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. Just about had it. I've had it with him again for the 90th time. It's just, I still feel like he's a terrible, terrible technical waiting to happen at the worst possible time. It almost happened in that last series. But for the most part, he's
more an asset than a liability.
What really bothers me is that he's played himself in shape during the playoffs, which would be fine if he hadn't also played 82 regular season games. All right, so you like the Lakers then? That's all right. I don't take it personally. Steven Strasburg, June 8th.
Yes. So unfortunately, I bought tickets to June 4th also because I thought that was going to be the date. So I'm going to go to that game this coming Friday. Hopefully the weather's good. But I also bought tickets to the 8th. And I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be live. I plan on getting there early. I want to get in, get settled in. I want to see him warming up. I want all of it. I want to see what it's like to be in a live baseball atmosphere for the first time for me in like 14 years because the last, meaningful baseball games I went to were the Baltimore Orioles in 96, 97. So, and I miss it. I had to write off baseball out of my life because of Angelos. So I'm really fired up for it. I'm really excited. I think it's going to be awesome.
If you could, is this the most excited Washington has ever been about an athlete since I don't know?
I don't know. No. We had MJ for, MJ came out of retirement and played.
See, I blocked that out. That's like Fletch 2 to me. I forgot that happened.
I mean, in retrospect, it's worth forgetting, but still, who knew what it was going to be like?
I'm saying for a first game, this isn't going to match Jordan, but still. Pretty good. It's in the class.
It's in the class. Yeah, you would definitely talk about it. And wait till this first Redskins game this fall with McNabb as quarterback. That's going to be crazy too.
Because Ovechkin's first game wasn't nearly at the same.
It was not. Yeah, it was of no moment. He was just a Russian kid that the Caps got with the first draft pick. A Caps team that won 15 games or something that previous season. So
I don't want to jinx it, but do you think Washington is going to become the Boston of this decade?
No, absolutely not. I'm not taking that ridiculous bait. How dare you?
You think the rest of the country is going to hate you in 2018?
Absolutely not. It's utterly implausible.
Well, at least so you got Strasburg, Ovechkin, John Wall, Donovan McNabb. This isn't bad. Things are looking up.
Yeah, on the ebb and flow of sports fandom. We're on a little bit of a flow after a prolonged ebb here. We're entitled to a little.
Because in 2002, I wrote my column about how depressing Washington sports was. You had 8 more depressing years.
And I think and you've taken some shots over the last couple of years as well. I mean, deserved shots. What can I say?
I don't even know their shots. I just feel bad for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's also a good sports town. Like, it's got good fans that give a crap. And they really haven't had a lot to hold their hat on,
That's exactly right.
I mean, the Orioles thing, getting to the point where teams just giving up, fans just giving up the team because they hated the owner so much, you included.
Yes.
And then, the 30 years of the Bullets. Wizards combo. Right,
and 12 years of Dan Snyder now.
Yeah, and the Dan Snyder thing was bad because each year you got strung along and got excited about, it was almost like, deep down you probably knew, but still it's, we got Albert Haynesworth. It was like a lot of
that was
moments.
it. Remember, I came on and did a little mini rant, about how I felt on that Haynesworth signing. It's so cynical. Every year. But this year, look, the Redskins at least look like they have a GM and a coach who have demonstrated success. I mean, other than Joe Gibbs, that's a unique kind of experience.
I look at it this way. Like, there's 2 levels to having fun as a sports fan. The first is you just want a couple guys that you can at least, you want to go to pay to see. So you're at least there. The second level is you're winning titles and competing in the finals in whatever sport every year. But at least you're at level 1 now, where you have a hockey player you want to see, you have a baseball player you want to go see, a football player who's at least interesting to talk about at cocktail parties now.
Well, a whole team that's kind of good, that could be decent.
Sure. And then
basketball,
John Wall, the number 1 pick. I mean, maybe not the greatest of years for a number 1 pick, but still.
And to be fair, look, the Wizards, going to the playoffs. They're, the mid-2000s. I was having a great time. I went to all those playoff games. It was awesome. Those little Cleveland battles that we had, where LeBron repeatedly treated the Wiz like redheaded stepchildren. But it was fun to go to those games. Those series were exciting. It's fun to have teams in the playoffs.
This is good. Maybe Obama will rig some of the sports rules, too, to try to in your favor. All right, Joe House. Wish me luck.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thanks.
I'm rooting for you.
All right.
All right.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Target percent off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.